This is Descendant of Odin, and you are watching herts-tv. Skål! Greetings, I am Amritpal Galsin, guitarist of Viking Death Metal project Descendant of Odin. And Descendant of Odin is a project that tells the story about Norse mythology and pays honourable tribute to Ragnar Lothbrok. Well, basically, my passion was to one day be in a band. I've seen loads of bands on like YouTube. Didn't actually think that I would end up being in one, but it soon became my passion as I was slowly learning more in college. But even though my favourite band is Amon Amarth, what originally got me to start Descent of Odin was Megan Target's band Vexed, which formerly was known as Vendetta. After seeing Amon Amarth at Bloodstock, I got my first gig at the Castle Tavern, played alongside the Rylus, Descend and Exalus. There were a few technical hitches, which is standard on the first ever gig, but I went by it and got the show done. I was studying music technology. I started out on the first year of a music, and then after the year after that, I went into level 2 music, got distinction overall on that, and then went into the level 3 subsidiary and extended diploma, passed that and got triple grade distinction. And then after that, I tried the HNC, and then after the HNC, that was it. I wanted to pursue my dream as a musician. So before, I wasn't really that much of a great guitar player. However, when I joined Barnfield College and started playing the guitar again, suddenly I was able to play these power chords that I never thought were possible. And then from there, as I was continuing to learn the music courses in college, I was continuing to learn more about guitar and just concentrating on getting better and better and better until eventually I'd be at the skill level that I'm at today, which I am very proud of. Well, I took some guitar lessons. A guy called Robbie Miller, he taught me some of the bits and bobs about playing guitar. And then the rest, in terms of learning songs and coming up with different riffs and whatnot, that was all me. Well, it started when, so the first 2 songs I learnt from them was Pursuit of Vikings and War of the Gods. But then that was back then when I didn't even know a lot about the band. But then after I started learning with Odin on Our Side, and then started learning more Amon Amarth's songs from the band itself, slowly and slowly they started to become my favourite band. I saw them 4 times. First ever time I saw them was at the London Roundhouse, and the way they play live, the gear that they use, basically their image, was like, I saw them and was like, that's the kind of guitar player that I wanted to be. So a lot of the stuff that I do was pretty much learned off of what they do as a band that has been around for a very long time now. No one recommended me the band. I sort of found them on my own. The first ever song I listened from the band was Pursuit of Vikings from their album Fate of Norns. Well, there weren't really any other bands at the time when I was learning to be like Amon Amarth. However, nowadays, as well as Amon Amarth, I've started listening to other bands like Assenblut from Germany and Wolfheart. Wolfheart are a really good band. I've listened to a lot of their songs.
Yep.
That's pretty much it in terms of what bands are similar to what I like as a musician. Sometimes I'll listen to some of the progressive metal or the stuff like that. So sometimes I'll listen to bands like Chokran, or sometimes I mean, there's other local bands that are like that as well, but bands like Chokran and sometimes even Chelsea Grin, or anything that pretty much has like the technical metal stuff, or even and I've even listened to a bit of I Prevail. Well, two of their songs I've covered, and Bow Down, which is in like a very low drop G tuning. Listening to a lot of those bands has helped to basically stretch my fingers out a lot more to play these really complex riffs that I never thought possible. Aside from music, I do like video games.
Yep.
I do play a lot of video games in my spare time. There are some that I like that help to influence my sound and my image as a musician. And sometimes I'll basically grab some of those influences from those video games.
Yeah.
I mean, more recently I've been playing like Destiny 2,
Yep.
really good game, and I've played a few Viking games. I know there's one coming out called Assassin's Creed Valhalla
Yep.
that a lot of people have recommended I should try out. The plot that they tell in those video games, and pretty much the image that they show, the type of theme that they're going for, sort of helps me to develop my music and come up with like melodies and powerful songs
Yeah.
that not necessarily are heavy, but can be both heavy but also melodic and something that people can sing along to and remember for a long time. So yeah, I pretty much jam out on the guitar. Sometimes I'll loop a riff and a melody to go with that on a looper, and if that melody sounds good, I'll record it on Cubase,
Yep.
and then that eventually turns into a good song. I don't tap it out on my leg. It just comes up in my head, and then I end up programming it into Cubase with the MIDI Groove Agent SE in Cubase. I always start with the guitar, and then I program the strings, and then after that I'll program the drums,
Yep.
and then for those five I'll write all the sections, and then once all the sections of that particular song are done, then I'll record bass last. Aside from Norse mythology, I've also liked other images from sometimes video games or sometimes a different mythology, like the Greek mythology with the Greek gods, or sometimes it can be something fictional from like a Final Fantasy game, or even though I don't play Final Fantasy, some of those images that I see in those games can help to develop and add on to what I already know. I haven't collaborated anyone in terms of writing a song with them, but in terms of playing live with them, for Metal to the Masses for 2019 Metal to the Masses, I played alongside a really good drummer called Matt Chivers, and then the following Metal to the Masses after that, which was Metal to the Masses 2020, I played with him and bassist Lewis White, and we played an awesome set and successfully went on to the quarterfinals alongside band Acadian, which are also a really good band. The Metal to the Masses unfortunately didn't happen, but the fact that I got through is something that never happened to me before, and for me that's memorable enough. It's not really that much of a challenge for me because I've practiced being confident at home, playing in front of visualizing an audience at home, but
Definitely.
I've also done it at college as well, and I basically do what the band Amon Amarth do. Their confidence on stage pretty much gives me my confidence to play on stage in front of people. I think what I try to do is pretty much what Johan Hegg of Amon Amarth tries to do, and that's try and get the crowd going, deliver the best Viking image and the most memorable show possible. Once I hit the stage, I am not Amritpal Galsin, I am the Descendant of Odin. That's out there, getting the crowd going, being confident, just being the Viking warrior that I was born to be, and making sure the fans have a good time. So my latest release is Avenge Ragnar. For that one, I wanted to have the best mix possible for that album. So when I found out that Daniel Kerr had mixed and mastered Earthbound's latest EP, which is Desolate, heard it for the first time, I thought, wow, that mix is spot on. And I figured that was the guy that I needed to go for to get the best mix down. So I talked to Daniel Kerr, we paid a bit of money. Every month he mixed a song down, and eventually soon he got the last one done in time for me to release the album on the 25th of April 2020. So the album's been out for like about 4 months now, and so many people love it. Basically, what the album is it continues the story from after Ragnar Lothbrok was killed by King Aela after he was dropped from a cage into a snake pit. And basically, the sons of Ragnar lead a great heathen army to march towards King Aela and kill him, and then afterwards march to King Ecbert's home and then try to kill him. So most bands still do the old way, which was they'd go to a studio and get all these parts recorded. What I have done is I've basically written and recorded the guitars, the bass, and programmed the strings and the drums myself. And then after that, I've mixed and mastered them down to separate stems and sent the stems over to Daniel Kerr. And then he mixed and mastered the stems and then sent me the finished songs. And then I've been able to save them onto a folder ready for when I need to release them. So Ricky Chambers, he has done my artwork in the past, and he designed this artwork for Avenge Ragnar. Basically, the image is basically Ragnar being buried by all these snakes as he is slowly being killed by their poison. So there's a skull, which represents Ragnar's head, and then there's two snakes, which represents the snakes in the snake pit that are killing him. And that's pretty much the image that I was going for when I wanted to release the album Avenge Ragnar. For me, if a song, for me, a song is great if it's not just heavy and melodic, but it also tells a story of that particular character. I mean, most awesome songs that I listen to are already great in its whole. A lot of those don't really have a story, but have basically melodic nature or sometimes just flat out riffage, which is not necessarily a bad thing at all. Basically, what I try to do, which I think is the hardest thing for most bands that try to tell an image, is basically try and find a good image of that particular character or the particular environment that they're in, and then try to implement that in a song. Being unique is quite a hard thing to do, since a lot of bands, even though they try to be unique, they'll always end up sounding like the same band because there's a band that's already done it already. But what I tend to do is if someone is asking for like good music to listen to, I would either recommend a song from another band, or I would recommend my music, or say, give this a listen, see what you think. I was born in Bedford, and I grew up in on London Road. Um, I live on the same street that I've lived for years. Um, Life back in the past was not easy before because I had a lot of ups, but I've also had a lot of downs with all like anger issues that I used to have, which didn't really put me off my education because I still got education done, no problem. But sometimes the anger issues that I've had have forced me to have depression. Basically, all the situations that I used to have, I remember that I couldn't control my anger, used to get into a lot of fights, and it was a lot of hard. And I thought after 2012 and 2013, I thought I would never be able to achieve anything. But when I joined Barnfield College and then started learning the music course, it was like my opportunity to start over, to start anew, to finally achieve something in my life, to make new friends, to earn respect, and leave that old dark history behind me and become a kinder person, not just to my family, not just to my friends, but to everyone I meet. Well, my music is aggressive, but it doesn't come from a place of anger. It just comes from the kind of images that I like seeing. So, as I've said, images from video games that I like, images from my band, favorite band of all time, Amon Amarth, images from the TV show Vikings. So nowadays, I'm a much more calmer person than I used to be, and but yeah, my music is aggressive, and that's mainly because of the way I play my guitar when I'm chugging these riffs and when I'm playing these melodies for the bulk of my music.
All right.
But again, it doesn't come from a place of anger. It's just something that I enjoy writing very much. But from what I've been told, music can be a way of calming people down, especially in times of stress, because it has that power. Right, so right now I'm currently working on an 8-track album, which at the moment is difficult. I mean, I've written all the songs down, I've written the parts down for those songs. Now it's just a case of finding the right producer to produce them all and basically get the songs done and then get the image for the album done. But that's not the only thing I want to achieve in the future. My goal one day is to play in one of the big festivals known as Bloodstock Open Air or even Download Takeover, so two of the well-known festivals that so many fantastic bands have played. Maybe one day, when the time is right, I'll be able to play a festival like that. But until that time comes, I am still doing as much as I can to improve, as much as I can to continue developing my music and developing my image and thinking about what else I can do as Descendant of Odin. The only impact that that the lockdown has had on me was, for one, the lack of live music, but it still hasn't stopped me from playing guitar. I'm still able to get as creative as I can, but the songs for the album I want to release at some point have already been written. All I'm doing right now is just continuing to write riffs that come in my head or cover other people's materials to pass on time when I'm basically doing anything musical like guitars and whatnot. Um, for one, trying to keep yourself relevant is something that a band itself already finds challenging on their own, especially with the lack of music going on at the moment. But as a solo artist, I see what other bands post on like their Instagrams and their Facebook talking about their music, or sometimes promoting their music, or even showing their influences or talking about their latest thing that's coming up. And that's basically something I try to do. What what I do have, which helps get me through the challenges, is the support of my friends and family, and I try to do my best to make them proud as I can. Well, I try to do the best I can to be the best metal project that I can be. Um, Now, I look at bands like Dorilis, I look at bands like Earthbound, I look at bands like Jackal's Backbone, I even see Spectral Darkwave and all those other successful bands that I know and love. They've done this for quite a long time, and it took them this long to get to the success that they're at. So many people love their music is because they continue to work hard at not just releasing music, but continuing to show the image that they are, with Joe Linden headbanging on stage, or with Tom Watson and his amazing, awesome vocals. Well, the way they interact with the crowd, and also the same way Amon Amarth interact with the crowd, is pretty much what I try to do as well. I try to learn from what local bands do, and try to use that for when I play in front of audiences. Of course, as a solo act, it can be quite difficult because you're the only one doing it, but I've managed to do it so well that in less than 3 years, I've gained so much success, which is absolutely unbelievable because as a solo artist starting out, it can be quite difficult to do that. Musically, I am proud of playing the best festivals like Blisterfest in Red Lion Gravesend, but I'm proud of my release, Avenge Ragnar. It's one of the best releases that I have done. And then I'd say I'm proud of passing Metal to the Masses, which is my biggest accomplishment. Um, that's pretty much it in terms of what I am proud of. To be honest, it's not really. I mean, you can listen to both music, both on streaming and listening to YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes, but you can also listen to them on CD if you want, because I know there are still some people out there that prefer to listen to music on vinyl and on CDs as opposed to actually doing it on the computer, which you can do nowadays, or even on your mobile phone. Um, I'd say nothing has changed a lot about that. It can still be done. It just depends on what people want. Well, it used to be back then, some bands would only do it for the money. Personally, for me, I do it because I love music. It's my passion. It's something that I love to do. I mean, it is nice to if I mean, it is cool if you want to make money out of it. Um, if it if that's something you want to do, but personally, the true passion of music comes from why you do it in the first place. Do you love to do it? Does your favorite band do it? Or does someone in your family do it that makes you want to do it? That's basically it. All right, so this is something that I could go on all day on this because there are a lot of mistakes that I see common with a lot of bands starting out. So, the best advice I can give to bands starting out is to be passionate. That's one thing, but it's also to always be prepared. So, if during the middle of a live show you suddenly break a string on your guitar, you might need to restring it with another string pack, or you might want to do it quickly by swapping that with another guitar. And always make sure that it's not just a guitar, also the amp doesn't blow up during the middle of a live show or even during sound check, or your analog pedal board all of a sudden gets faulty and you got to try and unattach the patch cables to see what's wrong. And also, when it comes to live sound, don't scoop the mids. Have plenty of mids and not too much gain. Having scooped mids and too much gain can sound awesome in your bedroom, but it's going to be lost when you take that tone live. But apart from that, once you hit the stage, you got to give it your all. Don't just stand in the one spot looking down at your guitar. You got to show people that you love doing it. I mean, you can be playing the most awesome stuff on the planet, but if you don't look interesting, if you don't look like you're having a good time, the audience is going to wander away. So don't be afraid to go into the mosh pit. Don't be afraid to interact with the crowd or get them on the stage. Don't give the audience a more memorable show. This is something that James Bryan told me. James Bryan from the band 13. He told me this at Ballstock, and this is something I think I should say to every local band or artist starting out, is that it takes time. Don't rush it. Take your time to build your craft. Eventually, people will love your music. People will want to see you more. People will want to buy your music, buy your merch, and people will want to support you and will want to help you achieve your dreams as a musician. Don't rush it. Take your time, and while you're taking your time, build up on your craft. And above all else, always remember to have fun because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Going out there and having fun.